All right, traders, today is Thursday, April 8th. It is 1 p.m. EST, so we're looking at the market. Before we do anything, I like to look for any high impact news. So my go-to is Bloomberg, and I've only selected for today trading session USD, so the United States, any high impact news for USD, and then also for China. I didn't see anything for China. If you're unfamiliar with Bloomberg, all you need to do is just go to this filter tab. First, you just need to go to the Discord section all the way at the bottom, and all the way at the bottom you'll see economic calendars. I gave you three links for three different economic calendars, one for Bloomberg, the other for NASDAQ, and the other one for investing.com. I specifically like to look at Bloomberg. And I like to look only for high impact news. You can look for medium impact news as well, but in order to do so, you'll go to this filter here. You want to select the time frame that you want to look. If it's your local time, I just have Eastern Standard Time for purposes of today, so we can all familiarize ourselves with what's going on. And then the filter tab right here, let you select the high or medium impact news for the country that you want to take a look at. All right. So United States, I only trade USD or United States stocks, ETFs, indices, gold, things like that. And then also I have China crossed off because of the tariffs. I have Hong Kong because it's a part of China as well. I also have Canada. That's just my personal preference, just because I know what's going on with Canada and tariffs. But once I selected all of that, and down here, I selected high impact news. I can select medium impact as well if I want, and this is low impact. Once you do that, hit apply, and it'll give you all of the news based on what you selected. So for 10:30 EST on Monday, it showed that Canada had some medium impact news, so on and so forth. Today, for only medium impact news for today, we have this listed here. Nothing that should disrupt the market at all. We see that the 3-year note auction came in as 3.784. So nothing there. The next impact news that we have is the FOMC member daily speak. So that's going to be happening, it looks like, in about 53 minutes from now, around 2 o'clock EST. And for Wednesday, we also want to look for Wednesday, especially for swing trading, or at least look for the next day if you plan on trading the next day. All right. So I'm not really worried about any of this right here at this particular time, based on what I'm going to be trading. What I'm looking at right now is ETFs for the United States. So I'm looking at the Dow ETF, the S&P 500 ETF, and personally, I'm also looking at the NASDAQ ETF. So we're going to go over that. And the reason why I'm going over that is because I think there's going to be a huge shift for tomorrow. And I'm going to share with you my plans and what I plan on doing for tomorrow and what I believe is going to happen. I'm also going to be trading with caution. And I think that we should also talk about how we minimize our risks and also using the position size calculator. So we can probably do a team talk about that sometime maybe next week. If you want to do that, just let me know, because just risk management is like the forefront of being prosperous when you're trading. Having a nice strategy, but then risk management is definitely top notch. So that being said, I'm going to look at US 30. I'm going to look at the ETF here. And actually, let me go back here. So we're going to look at DIA, which is the ETF of US 30. And what I'm starting on is the higher time frame. I'm going to start on the weekly time frame. Gives me an overall perspective of what's going on. So we can clearly see that on our weekly, we're still intact for our uptrend, right? Even with the tariffs in place, we're still intact for our uptrend. And one way to find out where I think a lot of people get confused is if you look for your higher highs and higher lows and spread it out, that will give you a clear indication, right? So this is obviously our low here back in March of 2020. Here is our highs in January 2022. We have our lows here, and then it kind of tapered off, but then we created new highs just recently in December 2024. And then this is the tariffs. The reason why it's still intact is because we can visually see it, but also wherever price is, as long as it doesn't disrupt the previous higher high, your uptrend is still intact. The same in reverse for our downtrend. So you can see that price stopped right at our previous higher high from back in November 2021. And I can just go ahead and draw a straight horizontal line that matches that. Now, if it broke this, then our weekly uptrend will be completely disrupted. I'm going to explain to you why this is important. But before I do, let's go down to the daily time frame. On the daily time frame, however, we're no longer in an uptrend. So what we're doing is capturing our higher highs and higher lows in an uptrend, but you can see that we created a double top on the daily, right? So back in December 2024 and then February 2025, this is around when the talk of tariffs started happening. And then we've been in a downtrend since. So if I narrow it down and start to just look at price action from here, we have our highs, our low, our lower high, and now we have a lower low. So you can see how our new lower low stopped right where our previous higher high was in our uptrend. And it's no coincidence that it stopped right at this level. Now, what I do believe is that, well, before I go into that, you can see how it stopped. And not only stopped, it shot to the upside pretty aggressively. So just getting my measuring tool from this wick to the high after that, it shot up about 7.5%, which is pretty significant. 2,754 points. Getting an alert for Forex. So let's ignore that. Right. So that's pretty significant. But so you can see how in our daily we're in a downtrend. I can clearly kind of draw a channel and do something like this on the daily. So I'm going to draw this a little bit better. All right, so you want to connect your highs, get a second connection, and draw it all the way down. The reason why it's not following this trend line is because of the tariffs. And usually when you have a huge drop, it's because of high impact news. But in normal settings, if it was a downtrend, it would kind of follow this trend line. Now I'm going to go ahead and capture this and drag it to the bottoms here. This is our price action channel strategy. And you can see that it's at the bottom of our daily downtrend, right? It's also at the bottom of our horizontal key level, and it respected perfectly. And the reason why it respects it is because those who are moving this market still want to make money, right? Tariffs are definitely dragging it down, but there's no coincidence that it stopped here. So this is one of the reasons why I believe that the market is heavily manipulated, because the rich and the wealthy understands how the market move. They're still in it to make money, while people are in a panic, typically buying the US 30, because the US 30 typically rises in nature. It tells us pretty much the heartbeat of America. They stop it here because they know that this is a prominent discount level and they want to sit up here and take this buy. Now, the reason why it pulls up is because it's bringing, in my opinion, more sellers. It needs to attract more sellers. We're in a downtrend on the weekly. This is why it's important to kind of find out the overall trend on the higher time frame and then start to drill down to figure out exactly what's going on, right? The higher time frame gives us the truth. And as you drill down, now you're starting to try to figure out a sniper entry, right? All this is on the higher time frame is a pullback, because in an uptrend, you need your higher highs and higher lows. That's all that is a pullback, right? So here's our pullback here from this area. Here's our pullback here. So once you start to see things like this over and over again, you begin not to panic. Of course, you want to couple it with risk management, but all this is pullback. These are healthy, and the wealthy know what this is. Okay. So a lot of people are just kind of alarmed with the tariffs, and they should be, because what's going on hasn't happened in US history. Of course, there's been trade wars and things of that nature, but what's happening, I think, is it's bringing down the market faster than normal. So you can see how this pullback here in the middle of our weekly channel is pretty healthy. So as I scroll in, what I mean by healthy, it touches the bottom of the trend line, it comes up, bottom up, bottom up. Where we can see here, this is the tariffs, it's pretty much a straight drop. So this is a lot faster than this kind of healthy pullback in 2022. And it's not necessarily healthy, meaning that this is a significant drop. So it's not healthy for the Dow, but it's healthy, meaning that there's still buyers and sellers trying to figure it out. It's still a downtrend. It's just not a straight drop like we are seeing in the tariffs, right? Here, straight drop. And if we look at the time frame here, this is 2020, April and May 2020, or March of 2020. That's COVID. Straight drop. So you can see how history is repeating itself. From the straight drop, didn't even have time to pull back to the top of our channel. Similar to this, straight drop. So you can see how this tariff war, so whenever I say war, that is significant. Whether if it's a physical military war or a tariff war, you're going to see something like this, right? This here was back in 2022. This was the Russia-Ukraine war. So although we were involved, we weren't directly involved, meaning boots on the ground and things like that. But because the U.S. was involved in the Russia-Ukraine, you can see that that a lot of sellers are losing confidence in the Dow. So price started to drop. This is more of a healthy or healthier downtrend. So all of this is captured within our weekly uptrend channel. Now, when I would possibly change my bias for this weekly uptrend is if it drops below this right here, this previous higher high, which is our future lower low. So if it drops, that's when I would change my bias of the weekly. Then I would simply change my perspective, right? So that's when I start to drop and change my weekly. All right. Let me know if that makes sense. If it's not making sense, I'll definitely elaborate a little bit more. So that being said, we're still in an uptrend. So at this particular time, I'm not losing all hope on Dow. The very same setup for SPY and also the same thing for the NASDAQ. So I'll show you that in just a moment. Now, what I do believe may happen tomorrow, and the reason why I say tomorrow is because there's some significant news happening today and tomorrow, is I believe price could drop past this lower low, which was a previous higher high in our uptrend. Okay. The reason why is because I mentioned in the announcement section is that that President Trump has threatened additional 50% tariffs against China, and they actually have till the end of today to do so. If they do not, this will, I believe, this will drop. I'm not going to say 100%, but based on how things are going and the tariffs, this should continue to drop. If it drops past this significantly, then I may change my uptrend bias on the weekly. And when I say drop, this is why I like to draw a rectangle and a wide enough rectangle to capture price action from before, because all of this is still buying area for the future. Now, if it drops past my rectangle from price action that I captured from before, that's when I'm like, okay, now we're definitely in a trade war, right? We're already in a trade war, but now things are getting serious because now the reason why I say it's getting serious is because now our uptrend, our healthy uptrend for the Dow has been disrupted, and it hasn't been disrupted in years. And look what I mean by that. Healthy uptrend, healthy uptrend. And so this is when I see it being disrupted. If it breaks this, and it has to break it pretty significant, right? So what I mean by that, since I'm on the weekly time frame, if it breaks it and does something like this, but then it happens to wick the next week or two and comes back up to test this, we could still possibly be in an uptrend. We just may need to adjust our trend line a bit and widen it out. And then if so, we'll need to widen the top part up, right? But if it breaks it and it comes back, there's a possibility that it can retest and continue to drop. And if it continues to drop, we will definitely see it in the markets and unfortunately probably in our personal lives, because we do a lot of trading with China, and I think they're pretty equipped to hold off and to hold tight with this war. And the reason why is because China, they said themselves that they're in it to win it. So to me, that doesn't look like they're backing up. So my personal strategy, this doesn't have to be yours, but based on economics, based on what I've learned, what I'm learning, and from previous high impact news, what I'm looking to do is short sell um, the US 30. So the Dow 30. I'm also looking to short sell SPY and QQQ. And QQQ is an ETF for the NASDAQ. So why am I looking to short sell? I'm planning to short sell just before the market closes today, because if this happens, it will take place at midnight tonight. And if it takes place at midnight tonight, Trump says he's going to impose the additional 50% tariffs on China, and that will send this market dropping. So I'm going to be careful. I'm not going to invest a lot at all. I'll probably risk no more than 0.5 to 1% of my account, and I'm going to set a stern stop loss. Okay. And this is going to be significant. So one thing that's going to change this is Donald Trump says, you know what, I'm not going to do it. Or if China says, okay, I will back down from the US. That's the only reason why this level will continue to hold. And this level will be significant. If this level breaks, this will be pretty heavy for the United States. I just want to throw that out there to you. And my bias will continue to be a downtrend until something happens and changes between the two nations and the tariff war. All right, just a quick check on you guys. Hey, Tanisha, good to see you. If you change your bias, will you go short or still go long? I'm going short before the end of close today. So my hope is that price will continue to rise. So let's go ahead and dig deeper. Let me clear my chart. just to make it a little bit cleaner, show you what I'm talking about. So remember, this level right here is very significant. So around anywhere between 370, I'm looking at DIA. So anywhere between 370 and as low as 360. Very, very significant zone. So I'm going to circle it, keep an eye out on it. All right. Now let's go to the daily time frame and take a closer look. Here's our downtrend on the daily, which is simply a pullback on the weekly. Notice how it wicked. Price came up. It looks like it's starting to pull back down. I'm hoping that price just pull up just a bit more, at least retest this area here today. That will be kind of a desire. This will be kind of a minor area here. This is in the middle of the channel. So in normal circumstances, we don't trade in the middle of the channel in the price action channel strategy. This is imbalance right here. We either trade at the top or the bottom. And the top and the bottom should align to a key resistance and key support zone. So for example, key resistance, touch again, key resistance, and it should kind of align right here. So it should kind of align around this zone right here. Didn't quite make it, but just a few ticks off or a few points off, right? So it would be nice if it comes back up before tomorrow. That would give me a little bit more confidence. If it drops down to this zone here by the end of today, then I will probably be a little bit concerned because this tells me that those who are actually moving the market may know that the tariffs may not happen and it could continue to shoot up. So if by the end of today, price is currently here, if by the end of today comes back to test the zone here, I personally probably be a little nervous and I may not take that trade because remember, those who move the market are the big banks, the hedge funds, the large companies. They will move it. And if they move it down here, they know something, right? So I'm just going to kind of monitor this. But if it doesn't, and it happens to move back to this level here, or at least pull back some, I think this is enough wiggle room to at least short sell here. So I would enter right before the market closes. And I will hope to see a gap down tomorrow morning here once the imposed tariffs take place from Trump, if he doesn't back down. So if I do that, again, I'm not risking much because again, this is a part of the price action channel strategy, but you never buy or sell in the middle. However, when it comes to high impact news and fundamentals, your strategy doesn't really take precedence, right? It's all about the high impact news and the fundamentals. And that can completely disrupt any strategy. All right. So the market will become super crazy. I don't think China will back. I don't think they're not going to back down. If anything, Trump will back down. And that will be my concern. And if so, then price should kind of stay around. We may see a little bit of volatility because people are trying to figure it out. But either or, we're definitely losing some structure in our technical analysis, right? So if it breaks here, then I will continue to look at this pullback as our downtrend. All right. So again, same thing. Let's take a look at SPY. Same setup. Go to the weekly time frame. Notice how it's pretty much following each other, right? We have our healthy pullback. This is from the Ukraine-Russia war. This was from COVID right here. This is from the tariffs, the exact same thing. Notice how I can draw a straight horizontal line right where it wicked from the tariffs to our level here, our previous higher high from before or right when the war started to, it would have continued to go higher, right? So our uptrend would have continued to do something like this. If we weren't involved in a war, if nothing happened, it would have continued to do something like this, right? But once the war started happening, that's when this pullback became pretty much dominant. But our trend should have continued higher and higher highs and higher lows continue to do something like this. So you can see how the direction of our trend could be changed based on global and geopolitical events. All right, same exact thing with SPY. So I may do the exact same thing with SPY. Again, it depends on what's going on. Now, if you decide to do something like this, again, remember to be sure to risk very minimal. We always tell you to risk no more than 2% of your account. So you want to figure out what that is. Figure out how much you currently have in a trade. If you're currently in a trade, then you want to take that into consideration based on your account balance. And then you'll discover your stop loss on that as well. And your stop loss will be to the upside if you're looking to sell. Now, if this is going to be following the same thing, you don't have to trade all three. You can trade maybe just one of them, the Dow 30, SPY, or the NASDAQ. Let's go to QQQ really quickly. All right, QQQ, the same thing. So this is why even in the modules, I say that QQQ, the NASDAQ, S&P 500, is the heartbeat of the United States stock market and the economy because it pretty much almost mirrors each other. right? And the tariffs will definitely disrupt it. So you have to understand, I like to look at these charts as a lot of dominant companies, Fortune 100 companies, Fortune 500 companies, are all wrapped into these candles here. And based on that, will determine and kind of show you what's going on. All right, so that's my plan for QQQ, US 30, and SPY. As far as companies are concerned, it's a little bit different depending on the company that you're trading. So I'll give you an example. Any company that you guys are taking a look at or any companies that you're interested in, we'll mark it up. And then I'll kind of give you my bias as to what could happen based on the company, whether if it's a technology company, clothing company, food company, it could still be impacted with tariffs. If it's a automotive company, just let me know. Yep. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on. And to be honest, guys, tariffs is definitely, I wouldn't say one of a kind, but what's going on with Trump is definitely one of a kind, right? It seems like he is really trying to put a handle on it, I guess, in his mind. And his ego is really high. So it doesn't matter. He's in it to push. He even said it himself in online and even in the news that he doesn't care. He's not looking at the stock market, right? So a lot of people are losing a lot of money, but we trade high impact news. We trade our strategy, but once there's fundamentals in place, if you decide to trade fundamentals, you want to trade towards the way fundamentals are going. And with tariffs, you want to sell. You can trade the pullback, just know it's a bit riskier. You just have to know when the pullbacks are going to happen. That's the hard part when it comes to fundamentals. Like here's the pullback here, and it happens to align from the with the previous higher high. That's a perfect level right here. The only thing is you don't know if it's going to align to this level here from this previous higher high, or if it's going to start pulling back from this higher low. So that's the thing when you're trading against the trend, you don't know when exactly it's going to start to pull back. And that's why it's a little bit more riskier. All right. So I'm going to have questions. Any questions so far, guys? Let me know if you have any questions. And then let me know if there's any companies that you're taking a look at as well. For Jermaine, I know we talked about Kava. So I kind of gave you my analysis on Kava. So if any of you guys haven't seen it, just check it out. I think it's in the stocks room. I believe Kava may continue to drop too. So guys, these tariffs are huge, right? So they're affecting companies within the United States. And because they're affecting companies, a lot of companies are going to just drop until there's a handle on it. And whenever there's no news, that's usually when we start to kind of pull back a little bit, or when things start to settle a bit, it may start to pull back and shoot to the upside. All right, Crystal, you said NVIDIA. Let's take a look at it. I haven't looked at this in a bit, but NVIDIA is also dropping, technology company. All right, so let me clear my chart. All right, so weekly time frame, just want to get a grasp of what's going on. Now, this one is a bit different. This one is a bit different. Um, we're no longer in an uptrend on the weekly time frame. And the reason why is first we want to just kind of find a low. Where's our low? So let's go ahead and grab it. We're going to connect it right here. Here's our next low right here. So in order to find out, all you have to do is just find your higher highs and higher lows. So we have our low right here, our high, higher low, higher high. Our higher low shouldn't drop any further than this previous higher high, which is right here. It came right here. So I'm going to drag it out. Let me expand the screen so you can see it a bit. So the higher low, it doesn't matter how high the higher high gets, just as long as the higher low doesn't go past the previous higher high. If it does, that's when an uptrend is disrupted, right? So I'm going to spread it out, right? I can draw a level here. All right. So now we have another push to the upside, but it didn't create a higher high. That should be our red flag, right? So it's pretty much a level here. It didn't quite wick as aggressive as up here, but it's a level. I can even draw it here. It came back down and then it continues higher. So this should be kind of our trend right here. And once it broke this level right here, it continued to make a higher high, right? And then once it breaks this previous higher high, remember, every time it breaks a higher high, that's when it's disrupted. So this is when it was disrupted. So now we're actually on a downtrend, not only on the daily, but also on the weekly. So this is where how we want to draw our trend. So you can grab it from the top. I'm going to clone it. It should align with the bottom. And now I can completely delete everything I've marked up in our original uptrend because this is irrelevant. The only thing that you may want to keep is just your key levels. Like for example, this was my previous higher high. It will sometimes come back and retest that zone. Not all the times, but a lot of times it will. So you can kind of do that, but no, we're no longer there. All right. So you can see how price respected the zone here, but then also because of the tariffs, it's kind of dropped a little bit below. So this will be a level that I'm also interested in here and next. So I can even throw in a Bollinger Band. I can even throw in a Bollinger Band and let me see. And you can see how price is completely wicking through our candles right here. Right. So this is a nice level to look at originally. This is the next level because of the tariffs. Tariffs is going to continue to drop NVIDIA. So my bias. So I'm kind of working my way down, right, Crystal? I want to find my bias. My bias is a downtrend. It's no longer an uptrend. This is the channel that I'm following right here. And this is the channel. And then now I want to mark my levels. This would have been my original level that I've had my eye on. But again, remember, selling in a downtrend is a lot better than buying in a downtrend. It's just a lot less riskier. It's because you never know when it's going to pull back. However, if you sell, even at the wrong time, if you hold it long enough, it'll eventually get you into profit because you have further impulses. Your impulse move is a lot stronger than your pullbacks. This is what I mean. Your impulse move is a lot stronger than your pullbacks. A lot stronger, minimum. So this is what you'll see. So if you're selling, and even if you get it at the wrong time, oftentimes if you hold it with proper risk management, you should be able to still profit. Now that I understand that I'm in a downtrend, and I'll get with you in just a second. Now let's go ahead and do a top-down analysis. I'm going to go to the daily time frame. I have my levels marked. So mentally, this red rectangle here would have been a buying level. However, if I want to manage risk, I wouldn't have bought anyway. I want to sell, but I'm only selling on pullbacks after the discount. So how can I find my resistance level? This here is no longer relevant here because price is way too far. Now I need to find my next selling opportunity. How do you do that? You can scroll out and look for previous higher highs in your uptrend or previous higher lows in your uptrend, right? If it's no longer relevant, then you can start looking at lower lows in your current downtrend. So what I mean by that, here's a lower low right here. Here's a higher low or a lower high, I'm sorry, a lower low. And then we have levels here. So I can go ahead and pull this here or in between here. So as price drops, I'm only interested in this. I think this will be a nice zone to possibly sell. So anywhere between here. So what I'm looking at here, rejection to the upside as price moved up. I'm also looking at price stopped and pivoted right here and kind of even stalled right here. So if price come up anywhere between this level right here, I'll be possibly interested. Or you can wait to see if price go a little bit higher. So we're not necessarily buying or selling off of a trend line. We're buying and selling off of key levels. Okay. So one thing I want to see is if price will come back and reset. Now, the reason why I would sell here is not necessarily just because of the level and not because it's not even touching the trend line. I would sell because of the high impact news. This, by all means, is not necessarily respecting our strategy. Remember, when it comes to high impact news and fundamentals, your strategy kind of goes out the door, but you still want to get in and try to get in at a discount. All right. So price is currently right here. If it pulls back up, let's say anywhere between 101 to about 105, I would definitely look to sell, especially by tomorrow. I can even do that same strategy that I mentioned that I would do on the ETFs with NVIDIA as well. But I would just take caution because if for some reason Trump don't follow up with the 50% tariffs to China, then we can see a little consolidation or we can see a lot of disruption. So you just want to be careful. All right. So does that make sense? So anywhere between like 101 to 105-ish, anywhere between that zone, I think would be good. Currently price is at 99 and it looks like it wants to drop a bit more. But NVIDIA is definitely impacted with the tariffs as well. So when charted on the weekly or daily, what's the lowest time frame you can trade in? Can I chart on the 4 hour then? Yeah, you absolutely can. So with the price action channel strategy, let's go ahead and do exactly what you're talking about. And hopefully this will help you out, Jermaine. So I'm going to delete some of these circles right here. All right. So I want to find my levels. Once I find my trend line, then I want to find my levels. I think this is a pretty good level right here. So this middle level here, I would possibly look to buy around here. And the reason why is because price is near it, and I know that there's going to be high impact news coming up within a few hours by the end of the day, today, Eastern Standard Time, midnight. So price is around this zone here. So this will be a pretty good area that I would look to possibly sell, not because of necessarily price action in the levels, but because high impact news is about to hit. Again, this is optional, guys, if you decide to trade fundamentals. Some people only trade high impact news because it's most volatile and they know which way it's going to go. Some people avoid high impact news because they don't know and they only want to wait when things get right and trade their strategy. So this is completely up to you. But because we're seeing high impact news, and plus things may change by late today or midnight because of the tariffs, we want to look around where price is at, and price is around the zone. Now that I'm on the daily, I can go down. Let's go to the 4 hour, like you said. Now I'm zooming in, and I want to see exactly what's going on. So each 4 hour candle is kind of telling us a story. Price dropped to our main support zone, came back up to the zone where we want to possibly sell. And now we can see prices hovering and looks like buyers are in demand is coming back to the zone. This will be, in my opinion, the best price to sell NVIDIA. Like I said, anywhere between this level, between 101 and 105-ish. And I think they may even try to push this price up right before the tariffs. Oftentimes, the market makers will try to get the best discount, so they will push price up as much as possible just before the high impact news come. So you can see prices starting to move up on the 4 hour, and you only want to start to drill down when you're ready to execute, right? So I'm not ready to execute, but I can see on the 4 hour time frame, prices starting to come up around the zone that I'm looking to trade, only because I see that this is a level here. And this is what, again, why I say that I think the markets are manipulated, is because oftentimes those who are the market makers, they're in it to make money too. In order to make the best amount of money, they have to sell when price is high, right? So when you own a home, the best way you make money is when when you sell your home at the highest possible price. So it looks like they want to come and push it up, possibly to this level. The reason why this was a level is because this was a significant discount back in March of 2025, significant discount in September 2024, significant level here back in May 2024 as well. So anywhere between here, I think would be a good idea. And it could tell us that the market makers know that the tariffs will take place and that the price will drop from this point. So again, this isn't just a normal pack strategy though. This is trading high impact news. And I combine the pack strategy, although our pack strategy rules aren't completely in place, because typically you don't really want to trade in the middle. But like I said, high impact news fundamentals will completely disrupt price action. And this is the price action channel strategy. We trade price action. B swing is price action. The KISS strategy is price action based. And also the pack strategy is price action based. So does that make sense? Hopefully that did. Once I want to go down, if I want to go down to the hour, now I see prices in my zone. Price isn't near it right now, or is not on my zone. But once it is, I want to start looking at candle behavior, right? So like for example, here, I have a white candle printing and then a red candle printing. This often tells us that sellers may want to come and dominate. We can see it starts to come in and creep. Right after the market closed, you can see that gap to the downside, and it continues to drop. So the further down you drop, is typically when you either want to start scalping or be in the trade for not too long, because and also you also want to try to get in at a precise price. So that's really good for scalpers or for those who, let's say, don't have a lot of money to play with and they want to try to get in at the best entry. As a swing trader, you may not care too much about exactly when you want to get in. So for example, as a swing trader, maybe even a day trader, notice how I gave you a range of prices to sell. I said anywhere between 101 to the top, which is 105. Because to me, as a swing trader, if I plan on being in there in a couple of days, maybe 2, 3, maybe even a week, I don't care exactly what price that I get in. I just care that anywhere within here, I want to get in. And that increases my chance of price of me getting in the trade. Whereas a scalper, you're looking at a specific price. You may look at 103 50 to 103.70. So your entry price is very, very narrow because you don't have a lot of wiggle room for if price goes against you based on maybe your account balance, or it could be just based on your preference. As a swing trader, I don't care if I'm down, a certain amount of dollars because of that range is long because I plan on being in there for a while anyway, right? So that's still a good maybe 1 to 5 ratio. All right. So can you short with the cash account or a margin account? Yeah, you can short with both. With the cash account, you have to have I want to say is it 25K, at least 25K. And also be aware of the PDT rule, which is all in the modules, and we can talk a little bit more about that as well. But you can short, and it also depends on your balance as well. With the margin account, you can short as well, because with a margin account, you're pretty much borrowing from your broker. So let's say if you have $2,000 in your margin account and you're trading a 1 to, let's say, 10 ratio, then you're pretty much your $2,000 that you have now is multiplied by 10, and now you have enough leverage to sell. The difference between, let's say, stocks and Forex is that with stocks, you don't, when you're short selling, you don't have anything to sell. So it's like me saying, hey, I have a piece of candy I want to sell you. I actually have something in my hand. But with stocks, you don't have anything in your hand. So you're borrowing the stock from your broker to sell, and that's how you profit. That's the margin account. With Forex, you can sell because you're never really selling. And I don't want to confuse you guys because you're never really selling. You're only buying. You have two pairs with Forex, and you're buying one or the other. So when you're actually short selling, let's say GBP USD, you're actually buying USD. You're not selling GBP. If you're buying GBP USD, you're actually buying GBP. So I don't want to confuse you and get too complicated or anything like that. But that's the reason why you need a certain amount for selling stocks. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. So any other companies you guys want me to take a look at? I just wanted to give you my strategy. I also wanted to update you with the possible 50% additional tariffs with China. So I don't want you to be completely surprised tomorrow. So they said by today, by the end of today, I thought it was actually today, but as I did more research, it's by the end of today, if they do not back down or I think take back of what the amount of tariffs that they were talking about imposing on US is going to tack on an additional 50%. So the US started with 34%, I believe. China retaliated with 34%. And now Trump is saying, hey, if you don't take away this 34%, I'm going to attack on an additional 50%. And Pamela, feel free to let me know if there's anything you want to say or any corrections. I know that you're pretty good at stocks as well and know your stuff. You're absolutely welcome, Crystal. All right, guys. Any other questions? Any other stocks that you want me to take a look at? ETFs? Anything else? And guys, notice that I approach everything, every strategy, every entry based on something, based on one of the strategies, right? So I'm not just selling just because, I'm not buying just because. It needs to be a strategy in place. And even if that strategy is trading fundamentals, you have to have a strategy based on that. And all of those strategies should be wrapped into one in your trading plan template that we provide you. You found that helpful? Awesome. Yep. So if it breaks in an uptrend, if it breaks the previous higher high, it's disrupted. You want to start your trend line over again. In a downtrend, if it breaks the previous lower high, or I'm sorry, lower low, then it's disrupted. All right. So NVIDIA is officially in a daily and even a weekly downtrend. And it's up to us to figure out when this trend will be over, especially if you're looking to buy NVIDIA. I think NVIDIA is going to still do well. Their initial drop started when China came up with theirs. I forgot the name of it. Do you guys remember the name of it? When China came up with theirs and said that, and they were bringing competition, that's when it started to spike even further. I think it was in February 2025. I think around this area here. That's when it started to spike and people started to short sell NVIDIA. If these tariffs happen tomorrow, this will be kind of the next zone here. So you can see how I continue to move from zone to zone. I'm not worried about this zone yet. This is my support zone here. This is my short selling zone. And as price drops, I will look to short sale. And if I'm swing trading, I probably wouldn't even have to swing trade this. This may be a simple intraday trade. I can take it down to this support level here. The reason why I say it may not be a swing trade is because tariffs move aggressively and it's a bold move. It's a bold move. So we may see a spike to the downside pretty aggressive. Once this happened, this is no longer my support zone. I will start to look for the next level, which is right here on the left side until it breaks. If it breaks, then I'm going to continue to adjust. This will no longer be my resistance. This will be my resistance here. So you kind of see how you move according to what's going on. All right, guys. So nothing else. That's my strategy. I'm not trading any and everything. I'm not going to trade any companies tomorrow, me personally. You send me a DM. Oh, you know what? I did get it, and I just didn't look at the actual article. So that's why I didn't respond yet. So please forgive me. I'll actually take a look at it as soon as we get off, and I'll let you know. Sorry about that. Okay. So I'll look at it and read it once we get off, and then I'll respond to you. All right. So me personally, I'm not going to trade any companies. I exited all of my companies from last week. Here's my journal. So you guys should always have your journal out just to kind of make it a habit and try to document everything you can as much as possible. So you can see everything here. And I personally love it. All I have to do is just click. I'm going to put the ninth here. Actually, I'm going to put the today here. And I'm going to possibly short sell US 30 or QQQ, just depending. And you can see no strategy because I'm not using price action, KISS, B swing, or anything like that. So I just click no strategy. And then the next level here says news impact is going to be high impact news. I don't need any indicator at all. So I can leave that blank. It could be an intraday or swing trade. I'm going to put intraday for now. And the good thing, guys, is that I can always click it and close it, or I can select both. I can do intraday and then also swing trade if I plan on doing it. Oftentimes, I like to pay myself as price goes my way and then exit and keep some runners going. I plan on selling. So I'm just kind of showing you how I'm planning on trading US 30 tomorrow. It's going to be I'm going to say, oh, I thought I had a post market here. So I'm just going to do pre-market. I'll update that pre-market. And the reason why is because I'm going to actually put in the order just before the market closes. And this is for after I close the trade. Did I close the trade in TP, stop loss? Did I manually close it, or if I'm keeping it open? So actually, I do have a open position now with Lucid. So I'm holding that. The reason why is because it doesn't move much. It doesn't cost a lot. I still have this open. I'm currently negative now. I think only like 30 bucks or so. And I'm going to continue to hold it and see what happens with that. Push come to shove. If you guys remember, I had a Lucid strategy in the modules, in one of the modules, and I said, hey, based on what you see with Lucid, tell me what do you think? If I lose it all, I lose a few bucks, right? Because it's already near zero. If it closes out, I lose a few bucks, but the sky's the limit from that point on. So to me, this is how I manage risk or look at risk. Um, and then I mentioned how many stop loss points that I have based on it. And I have to figure out my risk first in order to figure that out. What is my risk percentage? I had a pretty wide risk for US 30 when I traded yesterday. This was like my highest number that I had so far for the year. And then once I'm done, did I profit? And then where am I at? Calm, focused, fearful, excited, impatient, distracted, overconfident, anxious, indecisive. So these are the list that I have. And then I'm going to take a picture of the chart just right when I'm entering. I'm going to post it here. And then once I exit and close, whether if it's in a stop or a profit, I'm going to take an after picture right here. Right. So that's typically what I do depending on what's going on. Um, and so that's pretty much it. And then you can put notes here. So as you put comments here, so for example, you can see right here where my pictures are. So let me go ahead and click it. So this is my notes here. So I put entered the day before tariffs, pointing an arrow, pretty simple, however you see it fit. That was after. This is where I entered here. So I put entered here, exited here. And then I can put a note, a comment. Entered during the imported auto tariffs of Trump, sold TM at the end of the trading day on April 2nd, strictly due to fundamentals, exited on April 4th. So here's my notes right here, and I can go ahead and refer back to it. All you need to do if you want to do that, if you click it, you'll see a little talk or comment box here. Click it, and then that's where you can just type whatever you want. You can click here and add a file. Here's a plus symbol, or you can simply just drag it over, right? So let me take a picture of NVIDIA. I'm going to take a picture. So I use this camera button right here, download image. Let's go back to my journal and I can just drag it right here and you'll see it upload. Now it's right here. Yep. So that's pretty much it. I can right click and hit delete. All right, so that's a little bit of everything, guys. Sorry about going into the journal a little bit, but that's pretty much it. That's all I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to be focused on US 30, SPY, and the NASDAQ, and just kind of keep track. And I'm going to try to figure out which one I'm going to trade. I'm not sure if it's going to be US 30 or the NASDAQ. Whichever one I think is going to be the most profitable. All right, guys. So if that's it, no other questions, then I will upload this live session and feel free to ask me any questions after if you think of any.